Those first two movies are so well revered and well loved, not to take anything away from the other movies in the franchise, the sequels. Aside from those first two movies, though, was there anything from, like, say, maybe the other movies like Alien 3 or Resurrection that might have given you a little bit of, like, maybe you liked that certain set piece or that whole sequence?
Alien Romulus, it is a love letter to all of them. You know, all the filmmakers that worked in this franchise happen to be my favorite filmmakers. You know, all of them. So it is. There's quotes in language and images and lines and visuals of all kind to all those movies, and they're all my nods to the masters of this genre making this films. So there's not just, it transcends Alien and Aliens.
Alien Romulus, all the spoilers, and there are a lot of them. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to all the spoilers for Alien Romulus. I just put out my my spoiler-free review, and like I said earlier, man, this was a tough movie to review without giving spoilers, just because there are so many things going on in this movie that really honor the previous movies in the franchise. If one thing was evident, it was that Fede Alvarez and Rodo are massive fans of the franchise, and they really, you could tell they just had a blast making a gripping, scary, creepy horror movie with some nice winks and nods and Easter eggs to the other movies in the franchise. Starting with that opening, chill bumps, literal chill bumps immediately. By the way, I always love the 20th Century Fox logo in an Alien movie, because I always wonder if they're gonna like chop it at a certain point musically and then do the, you know, and they did that in this movie, I believe. But it starts with the 79 tech, you know, that analog feel to it, just hearing like the keys hitting and just, you know, the sound design that they used in the original Alien. And, you know, we've never done that since, as far as like technology goes. It reminded me of some of the stuff they've done in the Star Wars movies, like in the sequel movies. They went back to that retro tech feel. This did the same thing, and you know, it was fitting with the story, but it also just gave me major chill bumps and so reminded me of the original Alien, which is so cool. Weyland-Yutani is all over the place in this movie. We all love to see Weyland-Yutani. It's such a major part of the franchise. Jumping into the characters, I liked this young group of characters. Kaylee Spaney is our main character by the name of Rain. I don't even think I said her name in the spoiler-free review. That's how careful I was. I didn't want to tell you anything about the characters other than how I felt about them. But yeah, she, you know, she's one of these characters that just, you know, she's sick of the way things are going in her life. She's a blue-collar worker, right? And she, you know, she has aspirations. She's a young girl, and she has her brother, Andy. And right away, they give you a nice little surprise. You know, Andy is an android. It looks like he has a seizure on the ground or something, and then she has to like take his chip out of his neck and I guess like reset him or something like that. But Andy was a major part of this movie. I always love what they do with the androids in these Alien movies, and it's so cool that Dan O'Bannon and Ron Shusett, they never thought about even writing an android part until Walter Hill and David Giler got a hold of the script, and that's just something they added to it. And you know, we all love Ash in the original movie and how you never even knew he was an android, but you know, he was always on the side of the corporation. And so if you've seen this movie, you know what I'm getting at. Immediately when they get on board the ship and you see the ship's already been ransacked, and oh my God, there were so many freaking big surprises in this one scene. And I was like, is that Ash? Or is that like a version of Ash? Because, you know, this is an assembly line type thing with these androids, right? So it's just another model. Bishop style, his body is ripped in half, and they only show like a shadow of his face. And this is something I didn't really complain about in the spoiler-free review, but I'll say it here. Yeah, the CGI is definitely noticeable once, you know, you see that it's Ash, or again, a version of Ash. It's definitely noticeable. And it is jarring at first, but once you settle into the story, it doesn't bother you as much. But I will say, I think they could have really just kept Shadows on more of a practical dummy head. Kind of like what you saw initially with him. I think they could have gotten away with that because we all knew that it was, Ash. That was pretty exciting, and it is cool that they tied something from the 79 movie, because this takes place between 79 and the Aliens. And I always say this movie honors all the movies, but it really honors the first movie, down to even the tone of the movie. It's violent like the first movie. It's more small scale like the first movie. The tech is like the first movie. But, when you're introducing characters, I was wondering, are they going to somehow show us Ripley floating in space or something like that? Who knows? They didn't. I think it would have been cool, but I think we got so much, I'll call it fan service in this movie anyway, that you didn't really need it. But Andy was a pivotal character in this because he kind of occupies two different versions of the android, the good android and the bad android, and that's because they take Ash's chip and they put it in Andy at some point in the movie. And then Ash forces Andy to take on his own personality and putting the needs of the corporation first and foremost. And so Andy becomes a problem at a certain point, and the characters don't really know that. So they just added a new level of tension throughout the movie. Andy was one of my favorite characters in this by far. Now, talking about xenomorphs and parasites, oh my God, this movie might have more parasites than any other movie, and a lot of them don't even get used. When they get into that room, I'll call it the red room with the freaking water and everything. What was cool about this was you always expect that when a parasite comes at you, you're fucked. That's it. It's over. But there were quite a few times where the parasite didn't land. They were able to fight it off. They even froze it at one point. And I think that was cool because, again, you never knew when somebody was actually going to get infected by the parasite. And one of the characters does get infected, Navarro. We see that in the trailer where they use the X-ray wand, and then you see the baby Xenomorph in her chest. But I have to give this movie mad credit for, you don't even necessarily need infected characters. You don't even need xenomorphs because the intensity level was already ratcheted up before any of that stuff actually happened, before they were actually infected. And that's just a testament to Fede's direction. I mean, wow. I couldn't, I interviewed the guy recently and I told him, I couldn't think of a better person. Before I even knew that he was going to direct an alien movie, I always thought, man, after watching Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, this guy would be perfect for an alien movie. And man, we got a Christmas gift there. He directed an alien movie, and I think he gave us one of the best. I talked about how the Xenomorphs look in the spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to repeat myself there. But man, they looked majestic. They looked beautiful. But one thing I didn't mention, because it's spoilery, is that the time between you see the baby and then the full-grown Xenomorph, we never really see what that process is like, But in this movie, we get to see that it's actually in a cocoon. And you got that great scene where the character's kind of poking at the cocoon, trying to kill whatever's inside. That hoof or whatever comes out and freaking impales him. And then we get to see the full version of the Xenomorph coming out. And just the way that scene was directed and how it was shot and which angles you used to capture the Xenomorph. Perfection all the way around. And I was just fist pumping the whole time. My buddy Dan, who was sitting next to me, giving him a shout, but I didn't want to look straight at him, but he just kept fist pumping and freaking, these movies scare the shit out of him. And I got to witness it in full display. And I've never actually watched somebody be scared out of their mind of an alien movie. This was the first time, and I think that just really added to the experience. So, Dan, you made this movie even better for me. Now, let's jump into, I guess, the Prometheus Covenant tie-in with this movie, which was a shocker to me. I did not expect that at all. Because I think Prometheus and Covenant, they have their naysayers. I love both those movies to death, but especially Covenant. I recently just rewatched both those movies. I don't get it. I love both of them to death. I see, I don't think they're perfect. But I love telling the engineer side of the story because we have 4 movies telling the Xenomorph side, and you do get the Xenomorph in Covenant anyway. Once we get to like the science lab part, and then there's that capsule and they're experimenting on other things, you're like, oh, are they going to introduce some sort of hybrid or something like that, kind of like Alien Resurrection? And this is where people are going to, I think some people are going to have a problem with this part of the movie. I'll just say it. It's a hybrid engineer Xenomorph at the end of the movie, and automatically you're going to compare it to the end of Alien Resurrection. Thinking on it now, I always love the engineer stuff anyway, and I think this is like the ultimate culmination and closure of that arc of the story, the engineer. And we did have a good Xenomorph showdown for like a good hour of the movie. So do you want another Xenomorph showdown? So I like that they played around with this character Kay, who was actually pregnant. There's your callback to AVP Requiem. She injected herself with the capsule, and then she gives birth to the engineer alien. And that was very reminiscent of like Prometheus. Remember when Shaw, she was like, get it out of me, and you go through that really intense sequence where, she's on the table and David's like helping her take it out of her. Oh my God, insane. But yeah, this was sort of like that scene. But then you get the big showdown. Wild stuff. This whole movie was just such a rush of adrenaline. And I wanted more. I didn't want it to stop. I stayed till the end of the credits because I was hoping for an end credit scene. We didn't get one. But yeah, what a freaking movie. Did I forget anything? Let me look at my notes. Oh yeah, one more thing I definitely wanted to talk about. There's an aspect of this movie called let's just call it like a gravity reset, where everything's floating and then the ship calibrates itself and then there's no gravity. And I knew that element would come into play later with the Xenomorphs. And we always see the Xenomorph blood, the acid blood. And what if we use that gravity interceptor and all of a sudden the Xeno blood is floating in the air, and then you got Rain, Kelly Spaney, floating through trying to dodge the acid. This movie really played around with that notion of the acid. And man, you got the one guy with the acid just dropping on him and burning holes through like multiple orifices in his body, making orifices. Crazy. You got a whole section for Aliens fans in one section of the ship where you see the corridor with the alien dressing all around it and like the blue floors with the guns and everything. You got that little nice moment where I call it like the Hicks Ripley moment. They have that in this movie. But I think some people might complain that they went a little bit overboard with the fan service. But you know what? I can't wait to own this. This is probably the most rewatchable Alien movie out there of the entire franchise. And right now, I think I would put it, you know what? I'll wait, because the next video you're getting is the ranking, and I'll tell you where it's going to rank, okay? But yeah, guys, I think that's all I needed to tell you spoiler-wise. Yeah, I'm just shocked by how many surprises this movie had. What a breath of fresh air, and what a fun movie this year. So, yeah. Did I rate it last time? Trapped on an Island for sure. Definitely Trapped on an Island. But yeah. Anyway, guys, that's it for the spoiler review. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of Alien Romulus. I like the spoiler reviews because most of the comments are people that saw the movie, and it's just that much more fun because then we can have discussions with each other. So get down in the comments, subscribe to the channel. Tons of stuff coming. We got a lot more horror coming this year. So yeah. Anyway, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdum out.